Welcome to Ask the Builder. I'm Tim Carter. This is the Christmas 2021 edition. This is the last live stream before Christmas. So if you've got some great questions to ask about your home, well, type them in the chat and I'll do my best to answer them. I'm glad you're here, and it's going to be a pretty good live stream, I think. Today, let's hope we don't have any technical difficulties like yesterday where the screen froze. I think my computer got grumpy. Before we go any farther, Stain Solver. That's who's sponsoring today's live stream. Stain Solver. It's a great powdered, certified organic oxygen bleach. That's all you need to know. Certified organic. It's got 2 ingredients, both here from the United States. And all you do is you just mix it with warm or hot water, stir it up, let the powder dissolve, just like you would dissolve sugar in hot coffee or hot tea. And then you've got this solution that's fabric safe, color safe. It'll clean anything that's water washable, inside, outside, hundreds and hundreds of things it'll clean. Carpets, clothes, ceramic tile. It's really great on floor grout, mold, mildew, you name it, it'll do it. And if you let it sit long enough, like 30 minutes on a surface, guess what? It kills all the bacteria, kills viruses. You know what that means, right? Good stuff. Stain Solver. Go to stainsolver.com, order this little bottle, and I think you'll really enjoy it. It's a little sample bottle. If you want to get a bigger size, go ahead. The bigger size you get, the cheaper it is by the pound. Simple as that. Nothing hard to figure out about that. Today will be the last day I wear the Santa hat, so that's good. I like the Santa hat, but it's a little quirky, isn't it? Hi, Rob. How you doing? Other than the USA, do you say what your source of the oxygen bleach is? Well, my wife and I own the company, and the active ingredient is made in Houston, Texas, and we only put one other thing in it, dense soda ash. We have to put dense soda ash in it so that we can get below the federal DOT limit for oxidizers. If I didn't put any soda ash in it, we'd have to put those scary yellow diamond stickers on each box, and then UPS would go, we're not taking it. So the dense soda ash is actually a good thing because it boosts the alkalinity. You want cleaners or you want soap to have a high alkaline pH if you want to do a good job. Simple as that. Hi, Obi. Good afternoon. So I hope that answers your question, Rob. Merry Christmas to you, Obi. Merry Christmas. Yeah, it's going to be a good one here. It's going to be a white Christmas here in New Hampshire. I'm looking out the window. We've got our cover snow for the year. If things go the way they normally do, you won't see the grass again until April. So we got about 7 inches on Saturday night. And we got some really weird stuff last night and this morning, this crusty kind of ice. But luckily, it was able to come up very easily off the driveway. Kathy and I took care of the driveway, between noon and 1 o'clock. Driveway looks good. It's going to get really cold tonight. So I've got a steep hill coming up out of my garage area, my apron, and you've got to keep it clean. You just have to keep it clean, or you end up using a lot of sand to be able to get out. Hi, Will. You know what? I did the wood ash. I couldn't tell if it worked, if it actually melted the snow, because what happened is the following day, we had a little warm spell. There was some ice up in that area. I wanted to make sure I got rid of that ice. So I spread some rock salt. So it all melted, but before I spread the rock salt, I didn't see the wood ash doing much. I think really what the wood ash does is it just accelerates the melting, because it's so dark that any sunlight that hits it, really, really, really helps. And my problem is I'm looking out the window. I've got too many tall trees too close to my driveway and apron. if I went in there and cut down about 12 trees, and I've got hundreds of trees, but even though I've got hundreds of trees, my wife won't let me cut them down. But if I cut those 12 trees down, I would get a lot of sunlight on my driveway that my next door neighbor gets. He gets direct sun on his driveway because he's not close to the trees and he's up a little higher. Anyway, when he shovels his driveway, and an hour later after the sun hits it, his driveway is bone dry. It's wonderful. So anyway, if you've got any questions, feel free to type them in the chat. Happy to answer them. Today, I want to talk a little bit about something. It's a really kind of a neat topic. Unfortunately, it's a topic that a lot of people don't know about. And I think it's because, well, I really don't know why, what it is. I just think, like a lot of things, that many people don't use critical thinking skills. All right. So let's see, Will, and then I will get back on it. I got to try it here in Maine, so I wanted to try it, but yeah, I would just do an experiment that wood ash, but do it where the sun is and see what you think. You don't have to spread much. I can tell you that. Don't dump it heavily. So anyway, try it out. The problem with matching, doing brick mortar repair or matching mortar is that a lot of people, as I said, they don't use critical thinking skills. They just don't think about things. For example, and I'll be honest with you, years and years ago, I was guilty of this. I never really paid attention looking at the mortar joint, between brick. And I'm talking about mortar joints that are 30, 40, 50 years old, that have weathered. And, I just didn't pay much attention. To me, they just look light brown or they look light gray or whatever. Well, the truth is, once you got up close to it, and I actually had, let's see here. I had a link for you. I'm trying to find this. I uploaded a photo for you, and I am trying to find it because I want you to look at this photo. And it's a high resolution photo and it really explains what I'm talking about. So I'm finding it right now. I created a new album, I thought, and I'm just trying to find it here. I cannot believe I wasn't prepared for this. Daggone it. Anyway, I'm so upset. What is the, I thought I had a great, oh, daggone it. All right. See, that's the trouble. Men can't talk and and multitask at the same time. And I thought that I had got this daggone photo. I swear I created a new album maybe I have to refresh. So anyway, I've got this great photo, high resolution. I'm going to share it with you. And if I have to upload it somewhere else, I will, just to give you a quick link. But this photo just rocks, and literally, because you can see the the tiny rocks, which we call sand. A lot of people don't realize that we call it sand. That is in the oh, I know where it is. I'm looking in the wrong place. What an idiot. I'm looking in the wrong place. Oh my gosh, here we go. I'm sorry about this. Just let me, you're gonna really enjoy this. Just let me bring this. Here we go. Oh, I'm almost there. Getting a link for you. You are gonna love this photo. It's really worth the wait. I'm telling you. In fact, I want you, as soon as I give you the link, I want you to please go look at this photo and then put in the chat what you think. Tell me if you don't see something, or tell me if you don't see mortar completely different than the way you used to. All right, so here we go. I'm getting the permissions changed. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Sorry for this delay. All right, tell me when you see this picture, Look at it, and then seriously, tell me if your whole perspective of brick mortar changes. Just put it in the chat. I really appreciate it. But what you're going to see when you look at this photo is, and this photo, I'll tell you where it was taken. It was taken in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, probably about 7, 8 years ago. And it was taken at an old brewery that was turned into a hotel. I can't remember the name of it, but I could find it on a map. I know that. Uh, and they kept all the old copper brewing kettles. I mean, I guess you call them kettles. They're huge, huge things that you could actually see them, walk up to them. It's pretty impressive place. But this mortar that you're looking at, probably 120, 130 years old, so it's weathered. And what you're looking at is what you're looking at, because I'm actually pulling up a photo myself right here, is it was a really neat brick, by the way. It was that brick is this is a real close-up shot, but this brick is it was that kind of a yellowish color, really interesting brick. But look at that sand and look at all the different colors of the grains in that sand. I mean, there's a lot of quartz. Those are the clear ones and the white ones. But then you see some orange pieces. You see some black pieces. You see, I see a green one. But, and those are all tiny, tiny pieces of rock. And that's the first thing you have to understand about mortar is that, about sand, is that sand is really just rock. But they're very tiny pieces. And what you have to do when you go to match the mortar, if you're working on the mortar in your home, is that you have to go find sand that is got the same color mix and the grains are the same size. That's the most important thing. And here's what you need to know: if we could have gone back in time to when the bricklayers were putting these brick in place, that's not what the mortar looked like. Because what happened is when the hod carriers were mixing in the mortar, they blended the sand, and in the case of that, they probably just used pure hydrated lime. They didn't use the mortar mix like Type N or Type S that you go buy at the big box store. That's got a little Portland cement in it, but they just used pure hydrated lime. And what happened is the mortar was, when the mortar was going around in the mixer, or if they were mixing it by hand, doesn't matter. The hydrated lime coated each piece of sand with a very tiny film of the lime. So when the bricklayers installed it and they struck the joint either with a tool or with their trowel, the mortar was all the same color. It was whatever the color of the lime was when it dried. But over time, and I'm talking a really thin coat of lime. It would be like the best example I could give would be if you took some regular wood stain. I'm not talking solid color stain, but if you just took some wood stain and put it on a piece of glass, you know how thin that stain would be on the glass. I mean, it'd be really thin. So in 5 years, maybe 10 years of just natural weathering, with the sun hitting it, with rain hitting it, it eventually washes that lime off of the actual surface of the sand. And over time, more and more of the lime starts to get eroded, which is what you see in that photo, because you can actually see, some of the grains of sand are sticking like halfway out from the lime, from the mortar. So eventually that, those pieces of sand are going to fall away as more and more lime gets eroded. That means for you to have a chance at matching your mortar, not only do you have to get the sand right, the sand color and the sand size, you have to try to get the mortar right. So you have to think about when was this mortar put in? If it's modern mortar, there's a really good chance they use one of the modern mortar mixes. But here's what you need to do. And this is where most people fall down and most people are too impatient. Remember, if you've got a question about your home, just type it in the chat. I'm happy to answer it. Doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be about brick mortar. It can be any question that you have about plumbing, electric. We had a really interesting question just before the screen froze yesterday, and I'll go ahead and answer that. But here's what you need to do if you're matching the mortar. Don't just mix it up and put it right on the front of your house by the front door. In other words, if it was me, what I would do is I would go buy, I don't know, 8 or 10 brick that are somewhat close or close match to what you have on your home, and then just lay these brick on a piece of plywood, just like like a row and then another row and then maybe a brick on top, and try to do a good job and try to match the mortar. Don't be too sloppy, and just let these bricks set for a month. I know most people are impatient; they don't want to do this, so let it sit for a month. Keep it in the garage, keep it out of the sun, and then at the end of a month, I want you to buy a little bit of muriatic acid, very powerful, very dangerous, very toxic. You mix 10 parts water to 1 part acid, and make sure you have some rubber gloves on. Make sure you wear your oldest clothes. Make sure you have safety goggles on, not safety glasses, safety goggles. All right. You don't want any of this stuff getting in your eye. And then you just lightly dampen this brick. And then you take a old toilet brush and you dip it in this acid solution and you kind of get it on the brick and the mortar, and it'll start to fizz. And what you're doing is you're accelerating the weathering. In other words, you're doing in 5 minutes what takes Mother Nature 10 years. Because what I want you to do is I want you to take the acid and use that to wash off that film, that lime film or the mortar film off the sand, so that the next day you can pick up this little piece of plywood or whatever and take it over to your wall and hold it up and say, wow, the mortar matches. I got it. I nailed it. That's what you're trying to do. And you either want to wait a day or 2 or 3 because you need the mortar to completely dry out. If the mortar is still damp from you washing it, it's going to appear darker. All right. So maybe wait a week. Leave that little thing out in the sun, that little test board, so that mortar dries. And when you hold it up to your house, you'll hopefully get a perfect match. But you'll be really, really close as long as you get the sand right. Because when you look at that photo, go back and look at that photo. Look at how much surface area of that mortar joint is represented by the sand. It's probably 80%. Think of that. 80% of the color that you're seeing is generated by the sand. That's why you've got to get the sand right. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. Simple as that. Put them in the chat. Otherwise, I don't, you know what? I've got some mystic powers. I surprise people sometimes, but I don't, I'm a little short on ESP and clairvoyance. All right. So you need to help me out. And remember, your questions are the fuel that keep the live stream going. I want to talk very briefly right before the live stream ended yesterday. It ended abruptly because my screen froze, and when I don't see anything happening, I don't want to say it. It's troubling. So I don't know if it's working or not. Anyway, can't remember who asked the question, but it was kind of a good one. It was about a little technical. It was about in the electric panel. What happens is when your service entrance cable comes in from the street, here in America, because we have 120 volt electric, 120, 240, there's just two black wires, and then there's a neutral. And if your circuit breaker panel is just on the other side of the electric meter, you can hook your ground wire and your white neutral wire on that bus bar where the neutral is. All right. And there's a separate big thick ground wire, like usually a number 4 solid copper, that you have to attach to that bar. You have to run it outside. You have to drive a ground rod, and you have to attach that copper wire to the ground rod. So you have a secondary ground. You just don't rely on the neutral from the pole. But what happens is, and this is what the question was, is that if you have and this is where, by the way, let me back up a little bit. It's where when your panel has the main disconnect, like the 200 amp breaker in the panel, then you can do what I just said. But this is the way the code used to be. I think it's still the same. I don't keep up with the National Electric Code. I don't keep up with the building code. It's too hard. They change it every 3 years. And the reason I also don't keep up with it is because it doesn't matter. And especially the building code, because local code officials can ignore the code. They can make things more stringent than the code. So it doesn't matter what the code is in New Hampshire, because in North Dakota it could be completely different. All right. Now let's get back to it. So let's say that you have, and here's a great example of my case. At my house, I have my main disconnect is just down below me in the garage, which is right on the other side of the meter. And all it is just a gray box with a big 200 amp breaker. But all of my circuit breakers are down in the boiler room, which is maybe, I don't know, 60 feet away. So the electrician had to install a 4 wire, probably 4 out aluminum, from that disconnect all the way down to the circuit breaker panels. So that was the 2 black wires, a white neutral, and a separate ground. So in the disconnect in the garage, the ground rod, which is outside, has a big copper wire coming inside, and that hooks to the ground that goes all the way down to the other panel. So kind of complex. I know. I understand. I'm not a, how can I say this? I'm not a licensed electrician, but I know a lot about residential electricity. For example, I wired my daughter's new home. And speaking of that, this is kind of interesting. So we did something at my daughter's home. It was the first time I've ever done it. And it's one of these things where you don't know what you don't know. And it even for me, in other words, my whole path through life, you gain more experience and you learn new things every day. So when I lived in Cincinnati, we did not have a standby generator because the power was really, it was really reliable. I mean, the power, once we did have a big storm, horrible snowstorm early in the season, we were out of power for 4 days. That was miserable. And most people in Cincinnati do not have a standby generator. And what I mean by a standby generator, it's a generator that comes on automatically as soon as the power goes off. And they generally are pretty big. Like the one I have here is 17 kW, so it makes 17,000 watts of power. Whereas you may buy a portable generator, maybe it does 4,800. And a 17,000 one it's okay. But if I had my druthers, I probably would have gone 27,000 watts. But anyway, the point is, my daughter was building up in Maine, a lot of ice storms up there. So they were going to put a standby generator in. Here's what I did. It's really kind of interesting. And there's nothing in the code says you can't do this. The way most electricians, I'll bet you the way your house is wired is, let's say it's just a typical 2-story home. Typically what will happen is for the regular outlets, let's forget about the kitchen outlets. Let's forget about the ones in the bathroom, all those special 20 amp ones. Forget about that. I'm just talking about the wall outlets and the regular lights in your home. What an electrician will typically do is, if let's just say the house is kind of a long rectangle, so he will start a circuit and he'll kind of run one circuit down a long outside wall, run another circuit down another outside wall on the other side of the house, run another circuit down in the middle of the house, so that you don't have all the outlets in a room on the same circuit. That's kind of an advantage. And then every now and then he'll pull power from one of those outlets to make, a light work, like a ceiling light work. Okay. So in a power outage, what generally happens, because your generator cannot power the entire house, you lose all your lights. And that's really kind of aggravating in a power outage. I mean, you're walking around the house with flashlights or candles, and that's dangerous as can be, walking around with candles. So here's what we did at my daughter's home. I thought, well, that's crazy. I'm just going to make 4. She has a 2-story home, and actually an attic that's going to be a third. It's going to be finished up above. So I made 5 lighting circuits. All right. So I had 2 circuits on the first floor, 2 on the second floor, and 1 for the attic. And those absolutely went to the generator. And of course, with today's modern LED bulbs, there's hardly any draw on them whatsoever. I mean, even if they had all the lights on in the home, maybe all of the lights, all the ceiling lights would maybe draw 300 or 400 watts total, if that. I mean, they're drawing hardly any power. And I jokingly told her, I'm going to warn you right now that when the power goes out, and your neighbors see your house all lit up, they're going to wonder if something is wrong with the power in their house or something's wrong with their generator, because they're going to be scratching their head figuring out how in the world is it that all of your lights are on and ours aren't. They're going to think that your house still is getting full power from the pole, when in fact it's not, just that the way I wired the house. So if you're building a new home, this is all I'm trying to say to you. If you're building a new home, you want to do this. You want to separate your light circuits from the outlets on the wall. Don't make your lights part of the wall outlets. You don't need to do that. It doesn't have to happen that way. And then if you don't have a standby generator or you just have a regular generator, you want to have a separate panel that's all of the things that you want to power with the generator. So you have 2 electric panels. So, you want to have your refrigerator, you want to have your lights. In my case, my well pump. In my case, I have a septic pump. I have my boiler. So you want your furnace, you want your lights, you want your refrigerator, maybe your microwave, a couple of bathroom outlets, so that you can live normally in the event that you have a long-term power outage. So it's really that simple. You can do some really creative things with the electric circuits in your home. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. Happy to answer them. Happy to do it. I knew today was going to be light. Here we are, December 22nd. Oh, by the way, I don't know about you, but I'm really in a great mood because yesterday, New Hampshire time, I think just a minute before 11 a.m., the winter solstice happened. That's awesome. So right now we get a little bit more daylight every day. And that is just wonderful. I mean, what happens is it takes about a month for you to notice it. But, a month from now, it's going to be, hey, it used to be dark around this time. And of course, we right now we have just about 9 hours of daylight. And when we get to the summer here in June, my gosh, here in New Hampshire, we've got almost 16 hours of daylight. It's crazy. Got a lot of daylight. It's in fact, here in New Hampshire, where I live, just at the summer solstice, the sky starts to lighten at 4 a.m. And by 4:30 in the morning, you could be outside reading the newspaper. There's enough light. It's crazy. So it's because I'm on the eastern side of the Eastern time zone. There's about an hour to an hour and 5 minutes difference in solar time here in America in the time zones. Back at home, back in Cincinnati, those people, at 4:45, 4:30 in the morning in June, it's still pitch black. But here, the sun's up. The sun's up by 5 o'clock in the morning. Crazy. If you got any questions, put them in the chat. I'm happy to solve your problems, and do whatever I can to help you out. All right, Will might have a question here. All right, let's see. All right, I'll go with Will first, then we're going to answer Rob's. Will says, can I use 70-year-old chimney bricks for a walkway in the grass, or will they break apart? Neighbor tore down his 2-story chimney, so I have them stacked up now. Well, Will, if those brick, here's the answer. You've already got the answer, pretty much. if those brick are the ones that were on the outside of the chimney that got the weather, I'd say they're going to do a pretty good job. Um, if I have a column on my website about how brick are rated, so not all brick are made the same, and the ones that you would want for a pave like a walkway where they're going to get water and saturated and ice, those need to be have an SW rating, which stands for severe weather. And the only difference is that those brick are fired longer in the kiln, and so they become harder and harder and harder. And in fact, you can go to different cities in America. One of them that stands out in my mind is Athens, Ohio. It's a sleepy college town, but all of the roads in Athens were paved with brick, and they eventually blacktopped over many of them. But there was a section in this on this right in the center of town where they decided they weren't going to blacktop it. And the last time I was there, you could still see all of these brick. Some of them probably 140 years old. They look like the day they were installed. So imagine how much weather they've experienced. Imagine how much traffic. You can really make brick hard. I mean, really hard, and they'll last a long time. So all I would do is I would try it. What I would do right now, Will, if I were you, I would take 4 or 5 of them today or tomorrow morning, and I would kind of put them on the ground or on a part of your driveway or over on the lawn, and kind of stack them together the way that you plan to put them in the ground, and see how they hold up over the winter. In other words, stack them up just like you're going to have them in the ground, and just leave them out all winter and see what happens. See what they look like in the spring. You've got a perfect time to test it because the winter's just started. Rob says, remember, if you have a question, type it in the chat, just like Will and Rob have done. And remember, if you like what you're hearing, hit the like button. Click the like button. Rob says, how do we clean dust out of fans and air purifiers? I've used very slow cleaning methods, but would a laptop air blower be usable for either of these two things to speed up the cleaning job? Well, so here's what I do with I have for my man cave, like right here where I'm broadcasting from. I have to have a stationary fan. It's not air conditioned. You can get a little hot here in the summer, so I have just a regular fan that's on a stand. Well, as crazy as this sounds, when it gets dusty, and they all get dusty, I take the thing outside and I hose it off. And I just I put a little covering over the motor. I don't want a lot of water getting down into the motor. But even if a little gets in, I'm not worried about it because then I blow out the motor, and then I leave it out in the sun so it completely dries. But I just spray off the fan blades with water. But your fans may not be in a location where you can do this. The only problem with using the compressed air like you're talking about, is you make a dust storm. I mean, you make this horrible dust storm, and now the dust is wherever, and it just I know it gets it off the fan blades, but now you've taken that dust and put it somewhere else. So I would wonder, would it not be a better idea to figure out a way to use your vacuum cleaner with either you have to custom make it yourself or some type of brush. You know how they make the small brush attachments for vacuum cleaners that have the soft bristles on them? I have one that's kind of squarish. It's about 3.5 inches square. It seems like that might work, but maybe the fan you're talking about, Rob, is a really big one. I mean, a really small one. So maybe you're taking a paintbrush and you have the vacuum cleaner near the blades, and you're brushing off the blades while the vacuum cleaner is catching the dust. I mean, just kind of be creative. But the last thing I would do, unless I was outside, if you can take these things outside, then sure, go ahead and blow them off with compressed air. Nothing. But if they're inside, you're just going to make a dust storm inside. I wouldn't recommend that. You got a question? Put it in the chat. Happy to answer it. And remember too, earlier we talked about the brick mortar repair. Okay. Hey, Will, take care of that. See, there's one of those malicious links there. So you know what to do, Will. Get rid of that thing. Anytime you see those, Will, just get rid of them. That's one of the people that Steve warned us about 3-4 weeks ago. Make sure you read those 2 columns up above in the about brick mortar. It gives you all the tricks. Talks there. Thanks very much, Will. Appreciate it. But that's something that just anytime you see anything like that, Will, just get rid of it. Make sure you read those columns when I put them up there, because they have all kinds of extra information that I might not have talked about here on the stream. And while you're at the website, if you haven't already signed up for the newsletter, make sure you do. Got a big surprise coming in 10 days. You're not going to believe it. I am going to devote a live stream to what I'm doing in the newsletter, but what will happen is, by default, for you to get what I'm giving away, you're going to be signing up for the newsletter anyway. So you might as well do it now and get it over with. All right. What else did I want to tell you? Well, there's all kinds of things. I did it happened over the weekend. On Friday night, I have this architect. I've never met this woman. She has a great business. She does a lot of remodeling work out in Los Angeles, the LA area. And Friday afternoon, she placed an order for me to do a plumbing isometric, a riser diagram for a remodeling job. It was really kind of a small one. They're relocating a laundry room, but she had to have the permit on Monday, so she paid extra to get it expedited. So on Sunday afternoon, I'm doing this plumbing isometric pretty quickly for her, and she took it to get the permit on Monday, passed with flying colors, which I knew it would, but she was really happy. And I have working relationships with a couple of great architects. I get a lot of work from one in Phoenix. This Phoenix architect does a lot of new homes up in Sedona, Arizona. If you've never been to Sedona, Arizona, I highly recommend it. It's really a spectacular place. And make sure that you plan, as you leave Sedona, or even if while you're there, just drive up the road, Oak Creek Canyon, to get up to the mesa above. Boy, that is a beautiful drive. Okay. Will says, heard people used a leaf blower to clean out their dryer outlet. That, you know what, that would, there's no doubt that would blow a lot of stuff out. I can tell you, I would say 9 years ago, I had the occasion, kind of a long story, but I'll just make it really quick. I had an occasion to clean out a dryer vent. It was probably 20 feet of solid, the regular metal pipe, 4-inch. And I in my entire life, I had never seen a dryer vent pipe completely choked with lint. And the only thing I can think is that the people they must have never cleaned out their lint filter, inside the dryer. I don't know. Because I just can't figure out how so much, because my dryer vent pipe, we always, here at the Carter home, everybody knows when you take your clothes out of the dryer, and everybody here does their own laundry, you have to clean that lint filter. And so we do it religiously. And in 13 years, I check it every spring, but in 13 years, my dryer vent, which is, right outside the garage door, it looks just like the day it was put in. I mean, there's no lint buildup in the pipe. So I think the trick is you got to keep that filter in the dryer clean. All right. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Will. You can see the malicious people are here. That means at the end of the stream, they're going to try to do the same thing, Will. Just a warning. You watch what happens when I go off. They're going to try to sneak one of those links in there. But they must have a robot set up that crawls YouTube, because if you go to youtube.com, they've got a special section for what's streaming live right now, and I'm sure the people see it. So they go there and they just start dropping these things in to all the live streams. Anyway, who cares? We'll take care of those people. They're just a bunch of bad people. Bad people. All right, so I want to do a little bit. I want to get you thinking. I'm gonna kind of veer off the path here a minute. Not trying to make you upset, but I want you. This is a really a good example of what I was talking about a little earlier when I first started the live stream about the brick mortar repair, and I was talking about how some people they don't use simple critical thinking skills, and they just kind of wander through life or whatever. So before I did the stream today, I checked the news a couple of times during the day, and I saw a headline about this is all concerning the illness, and I just shake my head at this stuff. I just shake my head where the they're starting to try to implement, and I say they, and I mean the overlords. They're trying to implement where you cannot do anything, or for you to do everything you want to do, you have to be vaccinated. All right, so I get okay, I get it. So, but what they're not telling everyone is, or they're not telling you, and this is where you use your critical thinking skills. You go, well, what's the purpose of the vaccine? So the purpose of the vaccine typically is if you have not, for example, if you don't want to get polio, then you might want to get the polio vaccine. All right, got it. Polio pretty serious, but COVID not so serious. Not so serious. I mean, just look at the numbers because the mortality rate is so very, very low. All right, now. But you don't hear anybody saying, I mean, think about this. Here's all I want you to say is, how many people do you think in America contracted COVID? I did. My wife did. Maybe you did. Steve did. Steve's wife did. Steve's not here, maybe. Anyway, contracted COVID and survived. Millions, tens of millions here in America, tens of millions of people. Because the way pandemics work, is typically everybody gets sick. In other words, you may have had COVID. Get this. You could have had COVID and you didn't even know it because you may have had a little sniffle for an hour but you had it. All right. So guess what? You're cool. You're not going to get it again, because your body makes its own immunity and it's the best that you can get. It's the absolute best. It's 17 times, 20 times better than all this artificial crap that they're trying to put in people's arms. Right. So you need to start saying, if they're saying, if somebody says to you, well, you can't come to eat here unless you show your vaccine card. Well, I'm going to make up my own. I'm actually going to make up I'm going to get it laminated. I'm going to make it in color. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. But it's going to be a immunity card. It's going to be a COVID immunity card, official. And it's going to say that, like, official COVID immunity. And it's going to say, this thing, hereby certifies that Tim Carter, that the holder of this card, blah, 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 has got better immunity than being vaccinated, because I do. So you need to start pushing back. In other words, if anything, you really want to get COVID because you'll have better immunity anyway. And if you're watching the news at all, you notice that many, many people who got vaccinated, they're getting COVID. So that artificial stuff they're putting in people's arms, pretty much useless. All right. So, it's common sense. All right. So that's all I wanted to vent. I just want you to start using your critical thinking skills a lot more next year in 2022. And you need to push back on this, because otherwise they're trying to control your life. It's always been about control. It's never been about health. We all know that. All right. Well, some of us know it. Not everybody. All right, enough about that. But that was just about using your critical thinking skills seriously, because that's the only purpose, supposedly. But they're not saying this. That the reason they want you vaccinated is so that you don't get COVID. But that's not really what's going on. That's not why they want you to get the vaccine. All right. We could talk about that in another live stream, but I'm not going to. I'll give you a clue what it's about, though. So if it was truly about health, they would go, well, if you can prove that you had COVID, if you've got a signed statement from your doctor that you had COVID and you survived, obviously you survived because you're holding the card, then you know what? You can come and sit down here at the restaurant, but you don't see that happening. So because you don't see that happening, that's why you've got to engage your critical thinking skills. Why is that not happening? Why is that not happening? Think about that. Talk about that at your Christmas gathering if somebody brings up the illness, because they're not going to have an answer. But if it was truly about health, they would go, oh, if you've had COVID, come on in, sit down. We've got a filet mignon on special tonight. But that's not what's happening. They're going, oh, if you don't have your vaccination card, you can't come in. Something's not right. Think about that. Okay. If you don't have any questions, I think I'll get out of here. I'm trying to, I knew it would be very light here, really, really light. It's 3 days before Christmas, for goodness sake. All right. So I want to remind you, I will not be here at all next week. I'm not going to be here tomorrow or Christmas Eve. You're not going to see me again until January 3rd. I'm going to take, I always take the week from Christmas to New Year's off. And actually, I'll be a little busy that week. I'm working on a really big project that I will announce. I'll probably a really good chance I'll devote the January 3rd show that Monday to this topic. Why not, huh? In fact, I will. I'll just say right now. In other words, on January 3rd, I am going to give you something. I'm going to do something that I have never done in the 28 years I've Asked the Builder. You're not going to believe what I'm going to give you for free. Seriously, for free. And then you're really not going to believe the secondary thing that I'm making available to you. You're not going to believe it. You're just going to shake your head and go, this can't be possible. But it will be. And the bottom line is, the whole intention is I'm trying to do my best in 2022 to save you tens of thousands of dollars, trying to save you huge money because of this crazy raging inflation that's going on. So that's what I've got in plan. I'm going to be giving you something on January 3rd. I swear you're not going to believe it. You're going to think that I fell and hit my head while I was out cleaning the ice today. You're going to say, you must be nuts. All right. So anyway, simple as that. If you don't have any other questions, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to wish you a really Merry Christmas. I hope you have a great one. If you celebrate some other holiday, I hope it's wonderful. If you're of the Jewish faith, the Jewish people, they've already celebrated Hanukkah. That was over about 2 weeks ago. They have a really interesting schedule, how their holidays work, how they shift around. Hey, Sean, Merry Christmas to you, buddy. Florida sounds good right now. Hi, Mike. Merry Christmas to you too. And it is Christmas. We celebrate Christmas at the Carter House, and it just drives me nuts when people say Happy Holidays. So I just a personal thing. Hey, Will. Yeah, Merry Christmas to you and your whole family. It's going to be a good one here. We all of us, my wife and my two other kids, we went to Bar Harbor that's why I wasn't on last Thursday and Friday. We went to Bar Harbor, Maine on Thursday and Friday and Saturday and celebrated Christmas with my oldest daughter, her husband, and our granddaughter. And so now what we'll do is we'll celebrate our Christmas. So my son and my daughter will be here. My son, my son's my middle child, and my youngest daughter will be here. So the four of us will celebrate Christmas together here. I don't know if it's like at your house, but we have the food is always a tradition. We have just very certain things that we have. Generally, they're only had at Christmas, and I think that makes it all the more special. One of them, like my wife doesn't eat it, and my son doesn't, but my youngest daughter does. I'm a sucker for shrimp cocktail. I just love shrimp cocktail, and I actually have a really kind of a neat story about the first time I had it. I was a pretty young kid, and my wonderful Aunt Margaret had me try shrimp cocktail, and when I first looked at it, I thought that is the grossest thing in the world. There's no way I'm eating that thing. But I trusted my Aunt Margaret, and she loved me. I mean, and anyway, she would never do anything to hurt me and like, oh my gosh, it was so good. Oh, so I love, love, love shrimp cocktail. So if we're ever together, if we ever do a barbecue or whatever, and you want to treat me, if I'm at your house, just have some shrimp cocktail. All right. Okay. So Rob says I invested in VCLT, but I don't currently expect the bond market to keep up with 2020. Looking forward. Well, I'm not offering you any stock and ask the builder. And bond, just so you know, all right, let's get off the track here a little bit. This is kind of interesting if you're still here, Rob. When you have money, there are only two things. There's three things you can do with it if you have money. All right. So the first one, I don't want to say it's stupid, but it's always good to have a little cash around the house. That's not a bad idea. So you might have some cash just sitting in a shoebox or in the mattress. All right. So that's number one thing you could do with it. And of course, it's not earning any money. It's not doing anything. In fact, it's losing money each year because of inflation. So if you have a dollar bill and you just have it in your drawer and the inflation was 6% for the year, at the end of the year, the dollar bill is only worth 94 cents. All right. The only other two things you can do, Rob, with your money is you can either be a lender or you can be an owner. All right. So think about that. You're either a lender or you're an owner. All right. So if you bought bonds, you're a lender. All right. And because all that happens is when you buy a bond, you're giving your money to the person who's selling the bond, and they're promising you that they're going to pay it back and that they're going to also pay you some interest. All right. Well, as we know, back in the 80s, there's things called junk bonds, and not all bonds are of the same value. Some are very shaky. All right. So that's the only money you're going to make is what they guarantee you. And you better hope, just like you said, here's what you say. I don't currently expect the bond market to keep up. So you're going to lose money. All right. You're going to lose money on your bonds if that happens. All right. So that's not a smart investment. So the other thing you can do is you become an owner. So when you're an owner, typically it's when you buy equities, meaning you buy stock in a company. So if you buy stock in Tesla or some of these other companies that are going up like crazy, awesome. The truth be told, if you really dig deep into what's happened with the stock market lately, there's only been about 6 or 7 big stocks that have buoyed the Dow Jones. Many stocks have performed poorly through last year. So anyway, equities is where it's at if you want to make money. You might also dabble a little bit in the crypto market, the cryptocurrencies. I predict that the crypto is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. But you have to get your head wrapped around crypto. But although cryptocurrency, it's not a whole lot different. We talked a little bit about it yesterday. It's not a whole lot different than the US dollar. The only reason, take that money out of your wallet. Seriously, you may have never done this before. I'm going to teach you something. Go look at your money. Here, I'll get mine out again. I did this yesterday. I always carry a couple of these around because you never know when there's a good deal out there. All right. So I'm not doing this to impress you. It's just that you'll find that cash really can sway people, and especially if you use big bills. So look at this. All right. $100 bill. But what does it say right here? I'll hold it up to the lens so maybe you can see it. It says Federal Reserve Note. Federal Reserve Note. So do you know what that means? You know what a promissory note is? It just says, I promise to pay you. Big deal. People break promises all the time. I've got some of these down in my basement. They don't say Federal Reserve Note. They say silver certificate. So back in the 1960s, I could take 1,000 single dollar bills, go to the Federal Reserve Bank, the branch in Cincinnati, Ohio, slide it through the teller window, my cash, and I say, you know what? I'd prefer just to have the silver. And they would slide through the teller window 1,000 round pure silver dollars, not the crappy silver dollars that you get now that are copper or steel that have a tiny amount of silver on it. I'm talking 99.999% pure silver. Well, why did that happen? Why did they stop that? They stopped that because the government was printing too much money, and there was too much of this paper money in circulation, and there wasn't enough silver to back it up. So they had to switch to this. So this is a fiat currency. Look it up, fiat, just like the car. And this is really not much different than cryptocurrency. So if you're comfortable with this, then you're probably going to be pretty comfortable with crypto. So simple as that. Yeah. Thank you, Will. See what's happening? All those bad people that Steve said would come, they're coming. They're here. They're putting in those bad links. Look at that. 3 of them in today's show. You know what? A month from now, probably going to be 10 per show. So I'm glad you're getting rid of it. All right. If you like what you hear, hit the like button. I appreciate it. Sign up for my newsletter for free. It's free. January 3rd, I'm going to be giving you something for free. And I swear, you're going to think I fell and hit my head. You're not going to believe it. You're just going to not believe it. You're going to go, how is this possible? And I'll explain it all on the 3rd. I will. I'll explain it all on the 3rd. It's going to be a fun show. And I'll bet you have a lot of questions about it. In the meantime, so Will, if you're still here, I'm getting ready to sign off. I need you to stick around because I'll bet you, I'm not going to bet you the $100, but I would bet you $1 that some of those bad people are listening right now. And right as I go to sign off, they're going to put one of those bad links in. So I need you to get rid of it. I'll also hang around too a little bit, and I should be able to get rid of it too. I want you to have a very Merry Christmas. And if you are taking off between Christmas and New Year's, do some really critical thinking about what's going on. And thanks, Will. Really start using your noggin and start connecting all the dots and start talking it up to people, because we have to end this nonsense that's going on. I'm done with the nonsense. I'm done with it. And I'm done with it. I don't know about you. So anyway, not only do I want you to have a Merry Christmas, I want you to have a Happy New Year, because I'm not going to be here until after the New Year. I'll be here on January 3rd. Rob, no, that's a great question, Rob. Do you have to be here on the live stream? No, you do not. Because remember, all you have to do is, Rob, just go to askthebuilder.com right now. Just go to the homepage, sign up for my newsletter, put your name in, put your email address in, click submit, wait 10 seconds, go to your email. You're going to see an email from me, open it up, click the confirmation link, and boom, you're done. All right. Then you're going to automatically get what I'm going to be giving you. You're going to get it on January 2nd, actually, on the morning of the 2nd. But if you don't want to sign up for the newsletter, here's what's going to happen. If you don't sign up for the newsletter, you're going to end up doing it anyway. If you watch what happens on the newsletter, because I'm going to give you a link that takes you to what we call it on the internet. We call it a squeeze page. So in other words, if I'm going to give you something for free, and I'm going to give you something that's crazy valuable, like if I'm giving you something, you need to give me something back. All right. That's only fair. So all I ask for is your email address. So I'm not going to spam you. I'm not going to sell it. I don't do that. But you're going to be on my newsletter list. You don't have to read them, but you're going to be on my newsletter list if you want to get this incredible free stuff. All right. So the answer is no, you do not have to be here on the 3rd. You're going to get it by either signing up now for the newsletter, or you're going to watch the January 3rd replay whenever you have a chance. And I'm going to title it. I mean, it'll be titled like free. I haven't figured on the title yet, but trust me, when you look at my live stream titles, it's going to stand out like a sore thumb. You're going to see the word free in it. All right. So anyway, I want you to have a Merry Christmas. I want you to have a Happy New Year. I want you to start using your critical thinking skills. I'm serious about that. Especially pay attention to what I said before. This whole thing about requiring to be vaccinated to go to places, that's fine. But if I've already had COVID, I should be allowed to go too, because my immunity is far better than yours if you got vaccinated. That stuff that they're putting in your arm, that stuff's worthless. I mean, you already know it's worthless. Why? Because they came out, they only started a little over a year ago now, and then they're saying, oh, you got to get booster shots. Not one, not two. You might have to get booster shots the rest of your life. You know why that is, don't you? Do you know why? Do you know what's going on here? Most people don't. Do you know that the pharmaceutical companies have no liability? Zero liability. If you get sick or die or have some type of horrible reaction, if you go to sue them, they just laugh at you. They go away. The federal government made them immune from that. So Big Pharma is in the business of making vaccines now. They're going to pretty much not make drugs anymore because they make a drug you consume if you get hit with a drug. Don't you see those commercials? Don't you see those commercials and those attorneys all during the week? Like, oh man, did you take this drug? Did you take Robitussin? You might be entitled to a big settlement. I mean, I can hear those attorneys now. Anyway, I'm sorry to go off on the rails here, but it's the last live stream. I need you to start thinking, start paying attention to what's going on. Yes, transfer of wealth, Jay. Exactly. It's crazy. So, all right. I've said enough. Oh my gosh. I'm in a great mood, by the way. All right. So have a Merry Christmas. Have a Happy New Year. I will be back January 3rd. I'm going to have something really, really special for you on the 3rd. And if you, in the meantime, if you have any friends or neighbors or co-workers, I'm telling you, get them to go to my homepage, askthebuilder.com, get them to sign up for the newsletter between now and January 3rd. I mean, even after that, if they don't like the newsletter, they can unsubscribe. I don't care. But I'm just telling you, get as many people as you know to sign up for the newsletter between now and the 3rd, because I'm going to drop on you something that, like I said, I have never in my career done this. And I'm telling you, it's life-changing. It's going to be life-changing for me. It's going to be life-changing for you. And before I leave, I'm going to give you a link to why I'm doing this. This is a newsletter that list you would have received it 2 weeks ago, and this explains why I'm doing what I'm doing. All right, so just a second here. Here we go. I am finding it right now. Here we go. I got it. I'm getting the link. I want you to read this. This is really important. You read this newsletter from just 10 days ago, and it pretty much lays the foundation of what's going on and why I decided to do what I'm going to do. The idea just came to me 2 weeks ago, and it'll make sense when you read that. Please, please, please read that newsletter, that link that I just put in the live stream feed. Please, please go there and read that. And if you and when you do it while you're at the website, just sign up for the newsletter. All right. So it's really easy to do. It's right at the homepage. Just go to the homepage, and that's where the sign up form is. Okay. I'm going to get out of here. Thanks so much for being here today. I have a lot of fun. I mean, did you notice I wore my red shirt, my Christmas shirt? Are you kidding me? No one said anything about the red shirt. That's okay. That's all right. All right. Trying to be festive. We're going to have a lot of fun in 2022. I'm telling you right now, we're going to have a lot of fun. And if things happen the way I think they're going to happen, boy, not too deep into 2022, I'm going to be in a nice, different setting. We're going to be able to do some demos. I'm working on having 2 cameras, one that can point down and I can switch cameras so you can see what I'm doing. It's going to be pretty cool. I hope to pull this off. Thanks, Obi. At least I get one. It's an LL Bean chamois shirt. They're very warm. I mean, this shirt could be 15 years old. I talked about it on a past live stream. I love stuff by LL Bean. It's such high quality. I mean, it lasts forever. I've got a jacket. The jacket I was using today outside this morning to clear some of the ice. I know I bought that jacket 20 years ago. It looks like the day I bought it. It doesn't even look worn, and I wear it all the time in the wintertime. It's crazy. Oh, all right. I'm out of here. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Make sure you sign up for the newsletter. Make sure, I'm begging you, you go tell all of your friends. Go on your social media accounts. I'm serious. If you do Facebook and all these other things, go there and say, sign up for Tim's free newsletter. Here's the link, and just put askthebuilder.com. That's all you got to do, because right there on the homepage is the sign up form, because he's going to give away something for free on January 2nd. I'm telling you, I've never done this before. You're going to be blown away. And that's just part of it. That's just part of what's happening on January 2nd. All right. I'm so excited about it. I wish I could do it now, but I can't. It's going to happen January 2nd. Okay. Okay, Obi. Yep. You have a great Merry Christmas too. I'm out of here. Will, remember, stick around. We might get one of those bad people trying to inject a link right as I end this stream. Watch and see. Have a Merry Christmas. Have a Happy New Year. I'll be back January 3rd. I'm Tim Carter. This has been Ask the Builder right there. See it? Ask the Builder. Thanks a lot.